Right, welcome back, and I think we now have the right heading. I think our last lesson might have said it was grade 8, module 3 on fractions or something. It's definitely grade 12, module 3, trigonometry. So let's dive straight back in and continue with where we left off. And we are now going to look at using our knowledge of our ratios, right, to find, to draw a diagram of which shows what's sort of going on here. So in this question, we're just going to go through it very quickly because we've got given an example. We know that sine is negative. Now, if sine is negative, then we know, remember our all sine, tan, cos diagram, that tells us where each ratio is positive. If sine is negative, then we know that we are in either this quadrant or this quadrant. Those are the quadrants where sine is negative. But we are also told, right, so we know that information from the fact that sine is negative. Then we are also told that tan is positive. Now, where is tan positive? Well, tan is positive, in fact, in these two quadrants, this one and this one. So which quadrant are we in if sine is negative and tan is positive? We're in quadrant 3. Okay, and that's a really important idea. Okay, now we also know that sine is y over r, so we can actually fill in the y value, all right, of -4 and the r value of 5, and we can use Pythagoras to calculate our x value. We get x squared equals 9, but clearly if we're in this quadrant, then the x value is negative. Now, if we know those numbers, we can actually work out the other ratios, and then in fact we can also work out our angle. Okay, and we're going to show you how to do this, but let's do one together, all right, and then we're going to ask you to try a couple. So first thing, which quadrant are we in if tan is negative and cos is positive? There's only one place where tan is negative and cos is positive, and it's down here. All right, next thing we got to think about is, what is tan? Tan is in fact y over x. So we've got y over x, and we know that that is equal to -5 over 2. Now, where does that negative belong? Does it belong with the y or the x if we're in quadrant 4? Absolutely, it belongs with the y. -5 over 2. All right, so I'm going to try and draw this roughly accurately. The x value is actually quite small and the y value is quite big. We are somewhere over here. Okay, I'm going to try and draw that a little bit better. We're somewhere over here. Okay, this point is the point 2, that's the x value, -5. Theta is the angle, and the angle, remember, is measured the whole way around from here right round to there. That's theta. It looks to be about 300 degrees. It's definitely bigger than 270. Remember that this is 270, this is 90, this is 180, that's 360. Okay, now the question asks us to find the sine of this angle. Now we can't find the sine of this angle without first working out our r value. All right, now our r value is easy to work out because we can use Pythagoras. This as a length is 5. And this as a length is 2, and this is a right angled triangle. So in fact, r squared is going to be 2 squared plus 5 squared, which is 29. So r is in fact going to be the square root of 29. Okay, now the sine of the angle is going to be y divided by r. Okay, our y value divided by our r value. -5 over the square root of 29. Did we expect the sine to be negative? Yes, because we're in quadrant 4. What will the cos of this angle be? Well, the cos of the angle will be the x value over the r value. And notice that the cos of the angle is actually going to be positive. It's going to be 2 over root 29. Now, we're going to show you next how to find what's called a key angle. And the key angle is actually an angle of the right size, but not necessarily giving us the right sine. A key angle is an angle in quadrant 1 which would give us the right size of the ratio. And we're going to show you how to find that using our calculator. Okay, here we go. So to find the key angle, we know that the tan of the angle is -5/2. I just need to put my calculator in the right mode. We can go shift tan. Now I'm not going to put the negative into the calculator. I'm just going to go shift tan of 5/2. Okay, and that's about 68 degrees. I'm just going to round it off to 68 degrees. I want to show you that I could also go undo sine of 5/√29. Shift sine of 5 over the square root of 29. And I'm going to get exactly the same answer. I'm going to get that 68,2 degrees again. Have a look. There it is. Or I could undo cos, shift cos of 2/√29. And I'm going to get exactly the same number again. Okay, the important thing is I'm not using the negative angle on the calculator. I get 68,2 degrees. So my key angle, or our key angle, is going to be 68,2 degrees. That's not the answer to this question. That's clearly this angle here, theta, is not 68,2 degrees. This is how far we are in quadrant 4 away from a horizontal axis. In other words, this angle in here is 68,2 degrees. So how am I going to work out theta? I'm going to go 360 minus 68,2 degrees. And let's bring our calculator back and look at what that is. I'm going to go 360 minus my last answer, and we get about 291,8 degrees. Right, that 291,8 degrees is our size of theta. Theta is 291,8 degrees. And that looks, from the diagram, from where we drew it, we drew it roughly accurately, 5/2, 2 being the x and 5 being the y. All right, that is our answer. Okay, right, we're going to ask you to pause the video, and we're going to ask you to try the next one before we go over it. Okay, the first thing we've got to look at is which quadrant are we in? All right, well, it tells us that we're either in quadrant 1 or 2, and cos is positive. Now, that means that we are definitely, remember, cos is positive in quadrant 1, but it's not positive in quadrant 2, so we've got to be in quadrant 1. Remember also that cos is x over r. So 7/9 is x over r. Okay, so our x value is going to be a bit smaller than our r value. So our diagram might look something like that. Okay, this x value is 9, and we don't know the y value yet. We'll put a y there, and this is 7. This is, sorry, absolute rubbish. Let me just, let's just undo that. The x value is in fact 7, not 9. Okay. And we don't know the y value. We do know the r value. Let's write the r value in here. The r value is actually 9. 7/9. Okay, now let's work out the y value. And again, we're going to use Pythagoras, right? Because the x value is 7 and the y value we don't know yet. But 7 squared plus y squared, the two sides that make the right angle, square to get the one opposite the right angle, 9 squared. So in fact, we get y squared is 81 minus 49. 81 minus 49 is 32. So y is in fact equal to the square root of 32. Okay. Then they ask us, so we know what y is, they ask us to find the sine of this angle. Right, remember the angle is in here. The angle's from there round to there. Okay, the sine of 32 is, sine of theta is just going to be my y value over my r value. It's going to be root 32 over 9. Root 32 over 9. The tan of theta is going to be my y value over my x value. It's going to be root 32 over 7. Now, in order to find the key angle, I can undo the trig ratio on any one of these. So, for example, I could undo cos on 7/9. Undo cos of 7 over 9, and I get about 38,9 degrees. Okay? Or we could undo cos, so we could undo sine, shift sine of the square root of 32 over 9. Square root 32 over 9. And we get exactly the same number. Or lastly, we could undo tan, shift tan. Notice there isn't a negative here, but even if there was a negative, I wouldn't be putting the negative into the calculator. 32 over 7. And I get exactly the same answer. My key angle is 38,9 degrees. And in fact, my answer for theta is 38,9 degrees. Okay, that answer in there, that angle in there is 38,9 degrees. Notice with the previous one, I needed to take off the negative signs to get the key angle. This time there wasn't a negative sign. Okay, there's some more to do here. We're going to ask you to try these before the next lesson. The first thing we want to do with this one, just to give you a bit of a hint for the next two, we want you to consider them as fractions. So in other words, sine theta is negative 0,4. We could write that again as sine theta is negative 4/10. We want it as a fraction. And in fact, we could even simplify that, negative 2/5. Okay, so let's think about that. And tan theta equals negative 4. How can we write negative 4 as a fraction? Well, it's negative 4 over 1. Right, we want you to try these two questions before the next lesson. So the two questions C and D on page 101. Okay, and then we will go over them next time. We look forward to seeing you then. Liebe Noso Oluhle.